or Glassfish or Sun Glassfish 2.x, what it will do authentication bypass, and then it will try the default credentials on those earlier versions. So those are fully documented, and that works great. So you're going to get shell on a whole lot of different versions. There's commercial and the open source. It works on both. I tested this pretty extensively. If you find any bugs, please feel free to email me. But yeah, we'll do demos at the end so we can get shell.
So we talked a little bit about Microsoft Silverlight and some other expanded attack services. Silverlight's really kind of a newer client-side application type technology that Microsoft's developed, but we found that it can use web services and it can use it extensively. So it's more than just a flashy banner ad. You can develop entire applications in Silverlight. And they use WCF, which is Windows Communication Foundation. If you're not familiar with that, it's a newer web service technology from Microsoft. And what we found is you can really pretty much discard the application itself once you know what web services it's interacting with and attack the services directly. So the developers like Silverlight because it pushes a lot of the client-side processing and things like that back down to the client, and all you've got is these lightweight web services to transfer data. So it's becoming more of a popular thing. So the security we found really depends on how you configure those WCF services, and that's really the attack vector there. And we also seen a lot of complexity, especially with AJAX and Flash implementations that are leveraging web services. So great question. I know Jabber, I think you ran into this. You know, yeah. What if AJAX calls to web services are made from the DOM?
Yeah. Now you got to basically fire up Firebug, yep. And then just start reviewing that stuff because it's not going to be going through the proxy in that sort of case. So.
Exactly. So we've also seen a lot of different types of attacks being documented. I wanted to definitely mention wsattacks.org by Andreas Flackenberg. He's done a great amount of work here detailing and cataloging pretty much every type of web service attack that's out there. I mean, there's stuff out there that I never even heard of before. And it's an excellent bit of work that hopefully he's going to be bringing this back into OWASP and bringing it back into the community. But he catalogs everything around SOAP and Beeple services, and you definitely need to check that out. And we've tied this into our methodology as well, so we've referenced where you can see these different attacks on his site and back and forth.
So no need to duplicate the efforts that have already been made. We want to basically reduce these locations because there's so much attack surface. We want to basically have one location for everybody in the industry to go to. When we say we want to pen test a web service, here's the location. Go.
Yeah, and one thing that we're finding too is that we're finding SOAP requests now that actually provide content back to the web application. So Kevin has designed an actual a vulnerable web service where you can demonstrate persistent cross-site scripting through a web service, which is really cool when you think about it.
All right, so this thing called Beeple.
Beeple.
Right? How many in here have actually heard the word Beeple, right? Do you guys know what this stuff is? All right, show of hands. Not too many people, right? All right, so for those of you who don't know, Beeple is like if you have multiple web services, right, in an organization or even with a third party, that sort of thing, Beeple is the way that those web services could communicate, and you can document that sort of thing in XML, right? So you can have an XML parser for the way that your web services would communicate, and that's all represented in XML, right? So there's an XML, there's an XML parser, that's a whole lot of stuff. But in terms of the industry, we can't really, we're not sophisticated enough right now, I don't think, to pen test Beeple. So the best way to approach that sort of thing is with a developer and sit down with developer interviews. We're not even good enough at pen testing web services, so we need to improve that state to get to pen testing Beeple. Because when you think about multiple web services communicating based on conditionals or whatever situation is there, we just don't have the tools to do it. So a white box approach is my recommendation in those such situations. All right, so now we're going to get to some of the cool stuff that we did and improving the state of the industry. One of the things that I did was I was looking at the current stuff in Metasploit, and I was like, all right, well, the current methodology is to use SOAP UI to communicate with Burp Suite, or to use Ken Johnson's stuff and add the plugins and then do a lot of coding outside of Metasploit. So two things that I did here was I basically wrote up a quick HTTP repeater that basically take a SOAP request and send this off to a web service. And then the other thing that I did was to do a quick HTTP fuzzer so that we could actually demonstrate how we could find these vulnerabilities with Metasploit. The next step will be to basically leverage some of the modules that I wrote to be able to construct these payloads like a PHP interpreter and actually get that included so that you can actually get shell if you find something like a command execution, that sort of thing.
Right, so this is only the beginning when it comes to testing the web services in Metasploit.
Yeah, this is only the way beginning, right? This is like a call to arms. Everybody needs to get involved with this stuff. So if you're pen testing web services, you want to help out, let me know. We can definitely code some stuff up. So yeah, let's get to it. We're going to save all the demos to the end. That way we can go through everything, and we won't skip anything.
So Kevin spent a lot of time working on, let's find a way that we can have a good testing environment that's open source, give it back to the community where we can test these things. So he basically has created an addition to Damn Vulnerable web application that was created by Ryan Dewhurst, and it's now another piece of that application called Damn Vulnerable Web Services. So this provides really an awesome a great set of things to test in terms of all kinds of vulnerabilities. So it uses the Damn Vulnerable Web App authentication by default, which is nice. The only thing that I like about it too is it offers high, medium, and low difficulties. So if you're just testing some simple things, or if you want to get more advanced, that's all available for you now. There's a WSDL available for each service, and then you can test reflective as well as persistent vulnerabilities.
So this is going to be super useful because we're going to be building a lot of new tools and improving our testing methodology. So this is going to be what we're going to leverage to verify that our stuff works, right? Because no other way to do that. I mean, you have production environments or testing labs or that sort of stuff. Here it is. This is going to be the location, and also doing training around your pen testing team, making sure that they can pen test and demonstrate risk for vulnerable web services. So this is perfect.
And the other thing is it's also extendable, which is great. It's open source. You guys can look at the code, make modifications, and do what you want with it. He's also going to make this available in the Samurai web testing framework.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Also a great testing framework, live CD that you can download, pop it into a VM, and then test this stuff on your own. Pre-configured, ready to go.
Perfect. All right. So starting out, right, SQL injection, SQL injection over web services, right? Not too difficult, right? Username and password transmits to a database. You get the response. Well, great. And the various levels, right? You could have blind, you could have error-based, all the different types, union, all that stuff. So tons of work here. The next example is the code execution, right? Command injection. This is going to be what we're going to be demoing to get shell to demonstrate some real true business risk and really just drive that home. And also we have the higher level for this particular web service is blind command injection. So good stuff. You want to talk about the
yeah, this is my favorite. So a persistent cross-site scripting flaw through a web service. This is where if you find a web service that is publishing information back to the web app, if I can inject some JavaScript into that web service request, I can get that to show persistently back to the user. So the challenge with this is this actually posts it back to the main web application within Damn Vulnerable Web App to kind of show you, if they're not doing proper input validation, that you can get that to pop. So before we jump into the demos, just to kind of conclude here what we're talking about today, so pay attention to these new attack vectors. The technology is rapidly changing. You talk to these developers, and they are jumping on this stuff like crazy. Just the other day, I was out doing an engagement, and I had a client ask me, what's the best practices around Microsoft Web Services? And I had to do a little research because there's not a lot out there yet. I could tell you how to attack them, and they're like, well, I want to know how to defend them. So you have to, right now it's very immature from a security perspective in that area. And so they're really ahead of us with developers and their functional testing. We need to play catch up, unfortunately. And of course, this work is only the beginning, so you need to get involved with OWASP, contribute to open source projects, try your hardest to get developers to do the same. You may have to get violent with them, but sometimes you have to with developers, right?
And if you want to get involved and you're not a coder, feel free to let us know about anything that you're seeing in the industry, right? If you're seeing web services that are communicating in different ways or things that we haven't thought of in our threat model, let us know. Like we're on Twitter, so it's very easy to find us. Any reply will, you'll definitely have my eyes on it, so let us know.
And you can SVN update right now to get the Glassfish exploit?
Yeah, so the Glassfish exploit is already in Metasploit. I'm going to demo that in a couple of seconds.
Yep, and then these two links, these links will not take you to bad places, I promise.
Yeah.
And that's where you can get the link to our white paper, and then Jabber is going to be posting the WS modules.
Yep.
You can download.
They'll all be available.
Yep. And then DVWS is going to be available through that URL right now. You can download that now, check out the code, and it'll also be available in the next version of Samurai, WTF.
Awesome. Let's get to some demos.
Demo time.
All right, so the first demo we're going to do is the Glassfish stuff, because I know you guys want to see shell pop right now. You guys are like antsy. All right, so can you guys see this? Right, so this is Oracle Glassfish. It's running on 4848. So all I did was I used Metasploit to basically construct, authentication, username and password to be able to demonstrate and get shell. In terms of doing how to actually build this exploit, all I had to do was to sit down and use Burp Suite to intercept and identify what did I actually have to do to make this type of post request. So here we're just setting the host name, setting the payload, and it's providing this functionality. So all we need to do is just take a look at the Tomcat Manager exploit, generate a RAR, upload exec, and then execute. So there's another application interface, which is port 8080. So you see set R port or app underscore R port. So you have to make another interface request to that interface. So here all we're doing is we're doing Glassfish, 3.1, finds the version, uploads, gets shell, interpreter. Now we're going to do the cleanup because you don't want to leave stuff on the box, and then it just does the undeploy. So that's shell in the box. Latest, fully unpatched. Or actually, it is. I mean, it's up to date. So there's no way that they could patch this. So shell. Good enough. All right, so this is the web fuzzer, and this is just like a sample post request.
That's an awesome fuzzer. It's blank.
Hang on.
Ooh, other screen.
Two seconds.
There it is. Cool. It's that Dell you have.
Shut up. This is why we record demos. All right, so we cat the post request. This is a sample web service with SOAP. Too dark? Can we dim the lights for a second? Kind of a dark demo. Sorry.
There we go.
Is this better? Can you guys see? My lights are dimmed? All right. Well, we're going to upload all the demos online afterwards, so they'll be on. I'm going to post on Twitter, all that stuff. So you guys can find me if you want to see more demos. If you guys can see this, all I'm doing is using the MSF web fuzzer, sending in the post request, and then sending in a file, which basically has all of the elements to basically use and fuzz inside of the post request. So here's request 1, and then we're going to do request 2.
And we get take a fuzz list from like
yeah.
FuzzDB or wherever. Burp has a nice one too that you can import.
All right, so here what we've done is we've actually identified that we had command execution through the web service. Just put in the word ID, and then from there we can get, we're going to be able to get code execution on the box, so we're good. All right. Now this demo is basically just doing a few different things, right? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to generate a PHP interpreter, store it in shell.sh, and then from there we'll upload it to our attacker's web application, and then from the web service, download and execute that shell.